Hey everybody, we are going to start in just about 1 minute here. And I'll go ahead and turn on my video here. I gotta figure out how to add in some music at the beginning. It's always good. Okay, we are going to go ahead and get started. All right, so this is the webinar version of Zoom. I think everybody here has probably now just been living in Zoom rooms for the last however many weeks or years this happens to be. But so with the webinar version of Zoom, there is a Q&A feature. Go ahead and ask questions in there. And anybody that does ask a question, I'll be writing down their names, and then I'll email you later on about getting your very own Mathshare sticker that says, every student learns in their own way. So I'll send you one of those stickers too. So go ahead and ask lots of questions as we're going along with the Q&A function. This webinar is going to be 10 minutes or less, well, for the kind of like as I'm going through things, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end of it. So again, the purpose of today's webinar is to talk about how it is that parents can use Mathshare for supporting their students at home. So whether you are a parent or you're an educator and you want to learn about how Mathshare can be used at home, this is our goal for today. All of these webinars are being recorded and they will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So definitely make sure that you click and subscribe, which every video YouTube show says now. All right, so my name is Matt Nupin. I'm the program manager for Mathshare. I taught high school science and math for 12 years. And in that time, it was mostly in alternative schools that I was teaching at. And I like to really kind of point that out because a lot of my students didn't have IEPs, but it was very apparent from working with them that either they did have learning disabilities, some of them had physical disabilities that just for some reason were never addressed within school, or they had been out of school for a significant amount of time, and now they had pretty significant gaps in their learning from over the years, and now they're at my school, and I'm supposed to be working with them and trying to identify what kind of extra support do they need. And so the reason I bring that up is because everything that Mathshare has been designed to do, which is about supporting students, it's all about giving that extra support that students are going to need to be successful in math, because math is an extremely difficult topic for everybody. It's probably like the #1 subject that most people complain that they hate. And so it's no wonder that 35% of students struggle with math. And it's just because one, right off the bat, it's an extremely visual thing. You need to be able to see how different diagrams are drawn. How is it that the equation has been written out? Very specific things that you're looking for that can make a big difference in the equation. And again, with that writing, so as much as you need to look at this stuff, you also need to be able to write the same way. And that can be very difficult, especially now that we're doing so many digital things. The ability for handwriting and having it be clear and legible is extremely difficult to do. Hearing how the math is spoken and then speaking math correctly is also a very difficult thing to do. And so, all these different pieces together then add even more of a cognitive load for the students on top of that process of now I need to think through in a very logical way, how am I going to solve this problem? So it's their working memory, their ability to pay attention to the details and stay focused on different things and being able to organize their thoughts into a very clear, structured thing on paper. That becomes very overwhelming when you're trying to learn new concepts, and it's very different from the other subject areas. And that's why we made Mathshare, so that we can help make math more accessible. Now, I wanted to share a story. So I'm personally from Minnesota. Benetech, which is created Mathshare, is based in California. And so one of the special ed teachers that I've talked with here in Minnesota, she shared this great story of one of her students, a 5th grade boy, who has cerebral palsy, he has trouble holding a pencil. And so he can write these things out, he can think through them, but that act of writing it on the paper worksheet, that is where everything gets slowed down and he gets very frustrated with that. But when he started using Mathshare, that completely changed his world. And so he was no longer reliant on the staff member to do all the writing for him. He could just walk into a general education classroom and keep pace with all of his peers, which again, I mean, it's right. We're thinking about a fifth grader. Of course, they want to do everything that their peers are doing. Like, that's just what kids want to do. And now using technology, he can do that. And he can easily share his work with his teacher and with classmates and share his explanation on how he did that. Now, I also want to add in just one more actual little part of a fifth grade boy with cerebral palsy, extremely personal thing to me. This is my daughter who's in third grade, who also has cerebral palsy. She can write, but it goes much more slowly and much larger. And so trying to write out math as she's getting to higher and higher grades is going to be an extremely frustrating thing that will slow her down and hold her back. And so using technology so she can be independent and she can show what she's thinking, even though she can't say it verbally and she can't write it on paper with a pencil, because a disability gets in the way of that. Being able to use technology to kind of like overcome those barriers, that's right, like that's the magic of what we want for accessibility. So what we're going to be talking about here in the next couple of minutes is just what is Mathshare, how to get started with Mathshare, how to create a problem set, completing those problems, and then sharing the finished work. It's fairly general, but I'm going to having a lot of things in here that are specific for how does that parents can use this. So I want to then highlight too, just like, right, so what is the whole point of Mathshare? Mathshare is just simply a tool that helps students share and organize their thinking. Whether you're using it in a classroom or students are using it independently on their own, or as we're working to then embed Mathshare into other tools and platforms, having these abilities there for students regardless of where they're at, that is our mission to then help the students organize and share their thinking. So this is a preview of what Mathshare looks like, right? So there's two really big things here. This first part is the step-by-step. Mathshare helps students separate out their thinking into very discrete steps. So here we have step 1 and then step 2. And on each of these steps, there is a dedicated place to the right of the equation where they can explain what they did. And this area can be used to first think through, what do I need to do? And then they say it there, or after they've done the math, then to explain why they did that. Is a very important thing for their own learning, as well as then for sharing it out. So if you are working with a child who's nonverbal, but they can type, then this is a really great opportunity of where they can then actually do the math, and then they can explain why. So that then you as the parent or the caretaker can then look at that, and if they went wrong, you can then kind of understand where did they go wrong and help them out. Or if they got it right, you can understand their thought process as they were going through, because really that's the key, is why did you do these things, not did you get the right answer. That's the value of learning there, the important part. And then with each of those different steps, as you're going along, there's the math editor. And so there's an integrated math editor and sketchpad that allows you to then actually go through, and you can select these buttons, or you can use the keyboard for entering in the math, and there's also a sketchpad. So to get started with Mathshare, what you do is you go to mathshare.benetech.org. A couple of things I want to highlight here. We have Google and Microsoft sign in integrated into Mathshare. You don't have to sign in either. So you can use Mathshare without ever creating an account, and your work will save. You just need to make sure you save a link to your work so you can come back to it later on. But by signing in with Google or Microsoft, you don't have to have like a new type of account, because almost all students will have one of those two accounts. But then also all of their work is automatically saved to the dashboard. And because we have that sign in, then there's also Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams integration. So again, if your child is using, or if their teachers are using one of those two platforms, then they can easily share their work back to their teacher for those things. Or you as a parent can also create your own classes to then kind of facilitate that back and forth sharing. And Mathshare is also free for educators, parents, and students. So in a new tab here, I already have Mathshare open. And what I'm going to do is, I have my little video here, I'm going to select sign in. I'm going to sign in with Google, because again, you can do Microsoft or continue without signing in, but signing in is always fantastic. Now, if you sign in, we have a change coming up in which it will ask you what your role is if you're an educator. We're also adding in one for a parent also. By signing in as a parent or as a teacher, we will then be sending out automated emails and additional information to kind of help you get started with Mathshare. But then like when that release comes out in a couple of weeks here, in which you can then sign up as a parent, we'll also then have some like tailored information for specifically for parents on how they can use Mathshare at home. All All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a problem set. I'm going to quickly show you here on the dashboard. We have a problem set library that just came out. There's a few of them that are in there now. We'll be adding more, and other people will be adding them too. These are all of the problem sets. So students will also have their own dashboard where they can see all of the sets that they've created. Now, a set is a collection of problems. Basically, it's a digital worksheet. And then down here, we have some example problem sets you can look at as well. So I'm going to first start by creating a new problem set. You can customize the tools palette. Now, let's say you have a student that's like in 5th grade. They won't need some of these other things. So what you can do is you can actually then remove some of these other icon sets. These are our different tool palettes. And the purpose of removing them is that then you're reducing the amount of information that's on the screen at once to kind of help reduce that cognitive load. Now that we're on here, you can then change the title. So we could then say, this is going to be Wednesday's work. And I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to add in a problem. Now, as I'm adding this problem, I'm going to go back to my slides because the next one that I have is a worksheet. Chances are, and this is how it is for my daughter, of where we're getting digital worksheets that essentially are PDFs of something that would traditionally be printed out. And going back to that same story of the 5th grade boy, that was the same kind of story. There's these printed worksheets, but now we can make them digital, and as a result, we make them more accessible and easier to use. So I'm just going to add in this first one of 21 plus x is equal to 26. Now, if you printed this out and you have to decide that it'll work out too, we could have then like separate tabs also. So I'm going to say 21 plus x is equal to 26, and I'm going to say solve for x and add that problem. And we can look back at this next one here. So the next one is 12 plus 2x is equal to 16. 12 plus 2x is equal to 16. I'm going to use this dictate tool. This is our speech to text. Solve for x. And I'll add that problem. Then we can add in multiple problems. So we'd go through, add all the problems. We're looking at less than like 5 minutes to then take that paper worksheet and turn this into a digital one. And then we have the problems here. And you can click and rearrange them around. So you can drag and rearrange them. But now what I'm going to do is, let's say I've gotten through, I've made this change. Now I'm going to share this with my child. So I'm going to copy this link. Again, you can share it directly through Classroom or Teams if you had that set up with them. But let's just say like, hey, like, Mac, I want you to work on this. So I'm going to copy that link, and then they're going to then open it up. You can do this all within your browser too. And so then they'll open this up, and now they can work through and start solving this. So this is what they see. They have the prompt at the top, the individual steps here, and now they can start making the different changes that they have on this. So let's see. So for this one, this is where, again, what I think works out really well is for students to kind of think through what they want to say. So I can use then this built-in speech to text, and I could say, all right, well, I know I need to get x by itself, so I'm going to move 21 to the other side. And since it's positive, then I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. It put all of the explanation in there. And now I'm going to go over here and say minus 21 and minus 21. There's a couple of cool things that are in here within Mathshare that I really love. One is this cross out ability. So crossing out something will then kind of put that X over it, and then Mathshare does a cleanup step that I'll show you here in a second. But I'm going to just highlight that, and I'm going to use this calculate one where it crosses it out and gives us the answer. Now this one I know is going to be just simply 0. So I'm just going to cross that out, and I will add our step, and there we go. This is one of the things I really love about Mathshare is that this cross out, Mathshare knows what you meant by that, so it then removes it. And so now it does this cleanup step, and that is the equation that's down there. When the students are all done, you can just select finish, and then they go back to their problem set, and then they can work on the next problem. And this would be something of where, let's say now your child is done, and they can be turning in through Google Classroom. They could then just simply select Google Classroom and select the assignment that they want to turn it into, and then turn it in that way directly. Or if you want to take a look at it, you can look at it on their screen, or they could then share you a link back to their finished work. And what you will see is then their finished work. And that's where you can then have a more individual conversation. You can look through what their work and get an idea of like, what are they getting and what aren't they understanding for what you need to address next. All right, so that's really how Mathshare works. It's very simple. The focus is just on working through the steps. So a couple of different tips for parents is one, right, just like we did, if your child is getting any kind of worksheets, whether they're PDF or even like a paper worksheet maybe that's getting mailed home, you can easily convert that into a problem set with Mathshare and then share that with your child. And then they can work through it that way digitally. You can create your own class within Google Classroom or Teams. So that's a really easy way. Again, you can just simply go into my Google Classroom. Doesn't matter if you're not part of a school, and you can create your own classroom and then invite your child to that. You can work through one of the problems for your child as an example. We've got some videos on how to do that. But basically, just open up the problem as you're creating it and just start working through it, and that can be their example problem. Encourage your child to use the explanation box in those two different ways that we talked about there, of either to think through first their planning of what they want to do, or after they did the equation, then explaining why they did that. Ask your child's teacher to use Mathshare for the assignments. Again, I know we don't want to add in a lot of extra load, but ideally then this should make it a lot easier for the teachers, because now all of the students are going to be able to work this. So whether they have any kind of disabilities or not, Mathshare adds so many other great things, right? Because we're talking about, like, you know, UDL, inclusion. There's a lot of great things about Mathshare that is going to benefit all students, whether they have a disability or not. So that should, again, be supporting everybody's learning within the class. And then also, I know that for my kids, they do not like it when I'm watching the work as they're doing it. They want to do it on their own. And so you can then look at the work later on and then give them the in-person feedback. And so it's a really great way. All right, so really now we're kind of at the end. That was the end of our whole thing. You can go, so again, you go to mathshare.benetech.org and sign in as a parent. If that doesn't show up as a feature, as an option when you go there, I know release is gonna be coming out in a few weeks, just sign up as a teacher, that's fine. And then you'll receive regular email updates from us. If you have a child with a disability, or you would like to help us test out future features that are focusing on accessibility, go ahead and fill out this form. That will help us, and I'll put this in a link in a follow-up email, as well as on the YouTube page for this video. That is a really good way to be able to kind of give us some feedback and some ideas on how to make Mathshare work even better for your students. You can contact us at mathshare@benetech.org, and then also on Twitter @Mathshare. Over here in our Learn More section, so we have a full list of the accessibility features that are built into Mathshare, as well as ones that are in progress. Our YouTube channel has a wide range of different videos, some for teachers, some for students. Our Help Center has a lot of great information there. And also, if you do work with the school, we have a professional development pack that has pre-made slides and handouts that you can then give in those sessions. So I am going to continue this running right now and see if we have any questions as we're going along. But I'm going to go ahead and stop our screen share. And I don't see any questions right now. If anybody would like me to go through and kind of explain certain steps as we're going along, we can do that too. So give you guys a little bit more time here. But while we're doing that, I will share then something on here that I think I kind of skipped over, is that when you're in Mathshare, so there's two other things up here of this help menu. When you select that, you can then go to a tutorial and it walks you through step-by-step how to use Mathshare. Some accessibility information that goes to that same document that I was referring to, a list of accessibility features. And we kind of break it down of like, what are the needs, not what's your diagnosis, right? Because it's, you know, somebody that may have dyslexia, the same things that they struggle with, there's going to be other students that struggle with that same thing, even if they don't have that diagnosis. And so then this is the help center that I was talking about. So if you select that, it'll open up a new window. And then you can search in here for a number of different things. We also have this built-in chat function. Now, if you sign up as a teacher, it will also show up in the lower right corner too. So if you select that, you can then also search within the help center from here. You can also send us a message. So if you do have, or if you run into a problem, you have a request, or it's like, hey, like Matt, how do I do this? Then go ahead and just simply send us a message through there and we can respond back to you. We try to get within a few hours, and also like bug requests too. And so if you're signed in, then it automatically has your email and it sends that along to us. But unless we have any questions for today, this will be posted on our YouTube channel. And you can always email us any questions that you have at mathshare@benetech.org. And please go ahead and follow us on Twitter also. I love Twitter for teacher things. then we are excited to kind of hear and see like how it is that people are using Mathshare for using it for learning at home. All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for attending, and have a great rest of the week and enjoy that remote learning. Crossing my fingers on whether or not we will be in the classroom come fall. But even if that doesn't work out, that's okay. We got the remote learning stuff going. You guys are doing great at home. All right. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you.